Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Vice President Gann, do we have a readout from our session?
We do, Mr. President. 3 items to report out tonight. At tonight's closed session, the Board of Trustees voted to approve the appointment of the following public employee contracts, which are subject to contractual agreement with the Chancellor. Number 1, Michael DeCino, Director of Technology Services, District Office, March 25, 2013 through March 25, 2015, at a salary of $110,000 per year, voted unanimously. Number 2, Michael Goldberg, Interim Dean of Workforce Development and Applied Sciences, College of Alameda, March 13, 2013 through March 13, 2014, or until the position is filled, whichever occurs first, $110,000 per year. That was also a unanimous vote. If these individuals are here, would you please stand so that we can recognize you? Great, welcome. Also, the board also authorizes the Chancellor to issue March 15th letters to 1 educational administrator and to 1 classified administrator by a vote of 7-0 as well. And Mr. President, that concludes tonight's closed session readout.
Thank you. Is there a move to approve the agenda?
I'll second it.
Seconded. Discussion. Are there items that you wish to remove from the
Yes, Mr. President. Item number 16, to clarify, item number 16, the start date is March 4th. That amendment?
All right. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent calendar for deliberation? There appear to be none. So is there a move to approve the agenda? Oh, I'm sorry, it already is. All those in favor of the agenda as modified?
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Approval of the minutes. These are the minutes of the February 26, 2013 meeting. Is there a move to approve? Seconded.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions. The minutes have been approved. Are there speakers who have come before us this evening?
Yes, Mr. President, we have several speakers tonight. The first speaker will start with Matt Goldstein, followed by Matt Lanza, and then we'll go to Mr. James Blake. And there are several cards that Mr. Blake has pulled, or other folks have given him on their behalf. Mr. President, there's a question if we wanted to do the faculty tenure presentations first before we got
I
into
think
public
that would be
comments?
very appropriate. And this way we can release the families from having to participate. And it's unanimously approved, so let's proceed.
So could the Chancellor and the Board President, Trustee Galassa, come out front? Right. And then could the college presidents also step out front? Carolyn, you're going to... What? Yes, so Dr. Van Putten, could you come out front too? Or would you rather sit in front of the mic? Yeah, Dr. Van Putten is going to say a few words about each candidate, so she'll do it with the microphone on.
Trustees, it is... Trustees, it is my privilege to introduce to you
the four colleagues of mine and the rest of us who are faculty here who are getting tenure tonight. I will tell you a few brief words about them, for those of you who may not have heard earlier some of the things that were said of them. Karen Talbot is a learning disability specialist and has been part of the Laney family since 2006. She graduated from State University of New York at Albany, cum laude, with a Bachelor of Arts in English Literature. She received her master's from Lesley College, special education degree from St. Mary's, and adults with learning disabilities degree from California State University, Sacramento. Rachel Mercy Simpson, who's a faculty member at Berkeley City College, is a video production and editing instructor. She received her bachelor's from Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut, and her master's from the Pacific School of Religion in Berkeley, California. She teaches video production and other multimedia arts and has worked on over 30 films. She is fluent in French and German and speaks some Spanish and Haitian Creole. Matthew Dean Freeman is a faculty member at Berkeley City College. He teaches American government, political theory, comparative politics, and international relations there. He is currently working on his PhD in public policy and administration from Walden University. He received his MA in political science from San Francisco State, and he has 2 bachelor's degrees, one in rhetoric and one in political science. He is published and has another work in progress. Matt has been at BCC since 2009. Patricia Nelson, College of Alameda faculty, teaches English basic skills at College of Alameda. She has written software, conducted nationwide training seminars, and repaired wheeled vehicles while serving in the military. She is an Alameda native, a College of Alameda graduate where she won the Chancellor's Trophy in 1992, and a charter member of the College of Alameda chapter of Phi Theta Kappa. She has a mixed flock of chickens in the backyard of her 1887 Victorian, which she is in the process of restoring, as well as an organic vegetable garden.
Karen, could you come up?
Colleagues, would you all please come forward so that
Maybe one at a
commemorate
time.
this event?
One at a time, maybe. No, whatever.
Okay. Well, it's an honor to have Karen join us again. Can you stand next to our trustee, president of the board, and our chancellor? Would you like to say anything? Just a quick note.
I'd like to thank everyone in Peralta for having me as the LD person at Laney. It's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure. Thank you so much.
As a former faculty member, I know that this is a very magical moment, and I want to wish you congratulations. When I got tenure, I got it in 2 years, and no one even told me that I had tenure. So that was a lot easier back in those days. Congratulations.
Dr. Bud.
Rachel Mercy Simpson, please come up. Congratulations, Rachel. We're so thrilled to have you at Berkeley City College. Did you want to say a few words?
Oh, I would love it. I'll be brief. But what a joyous occasion. And when I started at BCC, there were 2 rinky-dink camcorders and a rented space at Berkeley High. And thank you to the trustees in the district for supporting our building a really terrific program. And I'd also like to thank my husband, whose birthday it is today. And I could never have done it without him. And so many nights when I worked late, and my son Martin. And finally, the teaching assistants who came tonight. The students have been the light that has enabled me to persist and has made it so much a joy. And thanks to Lori and Lee and other folks on my tenure committee tonight for mentoring and encouragement. It's a joy.
Congratulations, and I think this is ample testimony to the new style of things, that behind every great woman, there is a man working hard to support her.
Pen. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your leadership, too. So happy you're here. Okay. Thank you.
Congratulations. And our second faculty member receiving tenure this evening is Matthew Dean Freeman. Matt, please come up. Congratulations.
Good job, Dad.
Congratulations, Matt. So happy. Do you want to say a few words?
Thank you to everybody who's here. I want to echo Rachel's wonderful comments about our amazing college and the community that we serve, the amazing students that we get an opportunity, and I really do mean that, an opportunity and a privilege to work with every day. I really enjoy working at Berkeley City College and being a part of the larger Peralta community. I also want to thank my wonderful wife, who's actually also my high school sweetheart. We helped put each other through college all the way from undergraduates to graduate school, and she's here with me along with our three amazing little boys who are the most challenging thing in my life, but also the most exciting thing. So without them and without my wife, you know, this wouldn't be possible, quite literally. And so I'm very, very happy that this journey has taken me here, and I'm looking forward to all the things ahead of us. So anyway, thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. A picture? Great. And your lapel pin. Congratulations. Thank you.
Where are those three boys?
Thank you so much. They're running around outside somewhere.
Go get them.
Yeah.
Trish Nelson, would you make your way forward, please? And I'm also going to give you an opportunity to say a few words. I know. You didn't see that, but she licked her tongue out at me.
It's been my pleasure and privilege to be part of this district since the spring semester of 1981, all the way through to today. I love our students, and I love what I do.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Trish.
Yes. Mr. President, we have speakers from members of the public tonight. The first two speakers are Matthew Goldstein, followed by Matt Lanza. Then after that, we have several speaker cards for Mr. James Blake.
Good evening. I'm Matthew Goldstein, President of the Peralta Federation of Teachers, AFT Local 1603. First, I'd like to sort of gild the lily and congratulate once again the freshly tenured faculty members whom we're honored tonight. Matt Freeman and Rachel Simpson from BCC, and Trish Nelson from COA, and Karen Talbot from Laney. Tenure really is a very significant accomplishment, and it's also one that's under attack right now, both by a higher education system that relies increasingly on flexible part-time labor, and by a broader culture that's hostile to intellectual freedom and professions whose products, such as they are, aren't easily monetized. The union asks that tonight's honorees take full advantage of their new privileged status and that they use their freedom as tenured professors to pursue bold fields of scholarship and to push their students especially hard. I also hope that they'll get active with the union and the Senate, and they'll fight hard for themselves and for their colleagues. Again, congratulations to tonight's tenurees. Next, PFT would like to encourage everyone concerned about the condition of the City College of San Francisco to join thousands from around the Bay Area on Thursday afternoon for a rally. This is Thursday, March 14th at San Francisco Civic Center, 4 to 6 p.m. You can take BART to the Civic Center station and walk up Grove Street. You've probably heard that City College has been placed on show cause, which is the last stop before outright disaccreditation by the ACCJC, the Accrediting Commission. The interim administration at City College has breached collective bargaining agreements, has disdained shared governance, has ignored the will of San Francisco voters by taking monies from the recently passed parcel tax and putting them in the reserves as opposed to adding more sections and more services for students. So again, please support City College and turn out Thursday, March 14th at 4 o'clock to the Civic Center. And look for PFT and its bright orange t-shirts in the throng there. Moving on, I wanted to offer a kind of apology to Dr. Ambrise Galaviz and to Dr. Freud as well. In today's edition of the e-communique, you may have noticed that one item was titled Merit Faulty. That should have been Merit Faculty. It was an announcement about a college chapter meeting on March 19th at 12:30 in room R23, so that's college faculty. And all marriage faculty ought to attend that meeting. Thanks. I want to add one last thing. The PFT is sending a dozen delegates to the California Federation of Teachers Convention. That's the annual event held by our statewide parent union. That'll be in Sacramento this weekend, and I will file a report here in an upcoming meeting. Thanks very much.
The next speaker is Matt Lanza.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Chancellor Ortiz, members of the cabinet, and especially members of the public. My name is Matt Lanza. I am the SEIU Local 10-1 Field Representative for Peralta Community College District. And I'm here as part of our chapter's effort to restore Peralta Classified. It's a committee that's been formed within the chapter, as well as an effort that we are initiating tonight and we will be carrying on forward. The theme of which is that as we encounter a post-parcel tax, post-Prop 30, California is not falling apart, hopefully, world, we can start to look at restoring these incredibly important student support services and instructional support services positions that have been long unfilled and ignored by the district at various sites. One of our members, James Blake, will be elucidating you with oodles of data on the subject and how we compare to our peer districts. I wanted to start off with a story tonight. And this story resides right across the street at Laney College in the cashier's office. We have one of our brightest members over there, a woman who has tirelessly worked to continue to service the busiest college in the district in the face of post-layoff, short staffing, and she is the only permanent full-time employee in the cashier's office at the busiest college in Peralta. This is for a host of reasons, and we're not here to cast blame, here more to hope that we can work collectively moving forward to ensure that places like the cashier's office, which if you've spent much time at community college campuses, which I'm sure you all have, you've seen that for about 2 hours a day, the lines in these offices wrap around a lot of the courtyards. I spent time in one of those lines to get a sense of what my member over there was experiencing. And she, again, has been the only permanent full-time member in that department for 2 years. And every 65 days, roughly 13 weeks, is retraining new cashiers that come in, as opposed to building a team that, based on cohesion and a shared understanding, can continue to serve our students in the fashion that they deserve. So as we are embarking upon accreditation, and we are embarking upon a budget that is not full of gigantic holes caused by a host of factors, our hope in SEIU 10-1 here at Peralta is that we can look at situations like the cashier's office at Laney, serving thousands of students with one permanent full-time employee. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is James Blake, and several other speakers have ceded their time to Mr. Blake. That's Lynn Williams, for the record, Paula Coyle, Dira Williams, Molly Sealand, and Mr. James Menifee. If we could have 10 minutes on the calendar, on the clock, please.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Presidents, Chancellor, Vice Chancellors, and public. Our reason for here is a concern in terms of trying to really address some of the issues that impact us. We all are engaged actively in accreditation reports. Commission recommendation number 5, the letter that we received back in July 2nd to the Chancellor, part of that stated that colleges' response and upcoming follow-up reports should include an analysis of staff sufficiencies and the quality of educational programs and services before and after budget reductions with sufficient detail and evidence to evaluate the impact of these reductions on the overall educational quality of the colleges. One of the questions I asked about a year ago at one of the shared governance meetings at the district is, how do we assess our classified needs? Do we have a benchmark or a formula in which we can engage to address where those needs are and identify them in a way that is objectively repeatable and will actually have a direct impact on the quality of education that we render at the campuses? One of the things that I did was that I started to look at the California Community College Chancellor's Office data and began to look at, is there anything a precedent for us to look at? Some of the information which we're passing out now will help us to see that historically, that when you start looking at percentage of classified and particular classifications and relationships to not only students, but also, for that matter, for faculty, that there has been a persistent percentage in terms of the amount of classified that will help augment that institution in achieving its objectives. So one of the challenges is, if you go to the first document that's stapled here, you find that it lists classifications of both faculty, educational administrators, classified support, classified professionals, classified administrators, academic temporary, and tenure track. But what you find is, in the rest of the pages, go back each year, going back to 2007 of fall, you see that there's been a persistent percentage, pretty much something that we can more or less count on, that reflects that there is a relationship there that seemed to be established. And one of the things that we're looking at in terms of coming up with some sort of benchmark so that we can identify our classified needs without having to be somewhat subjective in that selection, something that's somewhat repeatable. As a district, we looked at the same data with regards to our budget allocation model. We started looking at the student FTS allocation. We took a history in terms of what the colleges reflected in the percentage of a total, and we came up with a model in terms of where the money should be allocated. Well, one of the things that we're hopefully would like to consider is that taking the same data from the same source, can we do the same thing for classified? It seems reasonable because the state is tracking it. It's breaking it down by categories like support services and activities. That's a one-page document. Instruction support and other designations so that we can see that allocation is there, is persistent, and it's something that each and every college needs. So when we have money available, can we take in consideration not only the percentages, but as the Department of Education has brought out through its data, that they have tracked classified staff in relationships with students, with faculty, to show that there is a direct relationship. And this is done for the entire state of California, throughout the entire country, and those percentages represents that relationship. And so as a district, I think we should consider looking at that as a possibility in terms of when we have identified funding, even restricted funding, we can focus on instructional side, instructional support to help foster up the growth when it's needed, to make sure that we have adequate staff to serve our students after that growth is identified, and through our program review, capture its effectiveness, thereby being able to address the accreditation considerations that we need to consider, so that in a way we can be a little more holistic. I would say, somewhat light, I wish we had a font number for classified. But since that's something in Title V which has not been identified, but the need is there. Some of the drafts, some of the information in front of you on the side here reflects in terms of how that allocation manifests itself. Some of the numbers here show from year to year, based on the total number of students, the relationship in association with the number of staff per FTEs of students. So that we're finding that the trend is that those numbers fluctuate somewhat. But when we looked at the information that we showed at our benchmark study, for Peralta, for every 56.4 students, we have one classified. When we look at San Francisco State, San Francisco City State, there was 38.28 students for every one classified. When we looked at Contra Contra, there was 74.24 students for each classified designation. So when we look at the average of all those colleges that we are using as benchmarks, we should, as a district, ascertain where do we want to be in terms of that number. What is the most healthiest percentage for us in terms of representation of classified? And in doing so, we're able to address not only our student needs, but also our faculty needs. One of the things that we were challenged by was when we add new sections, that when the new money came in, we did not have enough staff to handle the workload. And I think a lot of the faculty felt that. It took a while for us to process it because we didn't anticipate in our plan, when we put those sections together and add those sections, the impact it would have on our current staff. And so it led to many challenges in terms of getting things, the classes assigned properly and implemented in a way that would be productive. So as we move forward, we're looking at opportunities to engage the district in establishing a standard that can be helpful for each college. We know that we can utilize our program review process to capture some of the information and data, but I think we should be looking at the State Chancellor's office and the data that they supply as a means to establish that relationship. Because we do it for faculty, we should do it for classified. That way we can make sure that we grow in a very sensible way, and a way that will help make a greater success for our students. And so classified and concern, as Matt had mentioned, so in the future we'll be coming and visiting this body and sharing some stories from experiences from other classified, from other locations in the district, in terms of how they're adjusting to the demand on their job and those challenges that we have when we don't have adequate staff. And I would like to thank the board for this time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the speakers on the list, Mr. President.
Thank you. We now move to reports, and we begin with the Associated Student Government representatives.
Hello, my name is Jessica Linfors, and I am the Secretary of the Associate Students of Laney College. To start, the ASLC has elected 4 new senators, bringing the total diverse student government to 14 members. For our upcoming events, we will be having the Red Cross Blood Drive April 4th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Good Game Con, a campus-wide event highlighting competitive gaming, March 15th and 16th from 11 to 9 a.m. The Sustainability Conference, taking place April 25th from 11 to 2 p.m. by the Laney Bistro, as well as an event in progress for Cesar Chavez Day. The ASLC is working tirelessly with the Peralta Student Council to help fix financial aid issues, having had a meeting last week at BCC with the Chancellor. Next, the election committee is up and running, and candidates are encouraged to collect signatures now, as the deadline for applications is March 22nd, and the student body elections will take place April 30th and May 1st. Lastly, today the Associated Students of Laney College held a Women's History Month event, which included a panel of 4 inspirational women speakers, one of them being Dr. Elnora Webb. It was complete with chocolate, flowers, and a whole set of food done by one of our students. The ASLC would like to give a special thanks to Alicia Linfors for heading the event, as well as Dr. Webb for being able to speak to our student bodies. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Oh, good evening, everybody. Good evening, chancellors, vice chancellors, trustees, members of the board, and community members. I'd like to give you an update on our shared governance because we have spring break coming. Our College Educational Master Planning Committee, SEMC, will be meeting Wednesday, March 13th, 2013 from 3 to 4 p.m. College Council will also be meeting the same day with an hour later, Wednesday, March 13th from 4 to 5 p.m. I'd like to report something very great about our library and Dr. Ambrose Galaviz. I came to Dr. Ambrose Galaviz because students were coming to me and they were telling me that our libraries were closing at 4:30. I said I didn't know that this was happening. After telling this to Dr. Ambrose Galaviz, instantly, it didn't take her more than a week, I got an email stating that our libraries will be open Monday through Thursday from 8 to 7 p.m. and Friday from 9 to 3 p.m. All of this at the work of our president, Dr. Ambrose Galaviz. The students would like to thank her for doing such an amazing job in ensuring that students have adequate resources for success. Student eligibility is something that has been talked about at the Peralta Student Council as well as at our home school. Dr. Eric Gravenberg, who is the Vice President of Student Services, has verified all student eligibility and will be letting the council know this Friday, March 15th at our regularly scheduled meeting at 1:30. Another date is March 19th, college hour, 12:30 to 1:30. Financial aid will be doing an FYI. This will be open to all of the students during college hours so that they can come learn about financial aid, dates, and get prepared for next semester, as well as answer any questions that they have about this semester. A big thing that has been going around, we know, is the students need an advisor. The big question was, and even with the Peralta Student Council, classified or management. I have gone through the different chains of command in my school, and what we have decided per talking with the classified senate president, my college president, and myself, and the academic senate, they are against hiring a manager. But the students, for the record, we want to hire someone who can give the students the most power and someone who can have the most access. That's basically stating a director. I just want everybody to work together and know that the only thing constant in life is change. And so while we are all having these decisions about what we're going to hire for students, we can't prolong the process because the need is now. So thank you all and have a wonderful evening. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Are there any other speakers? Thank you. We'll now move to the Chancellor's reports. Chancellor.
Thank you, President Galassa, and good evening, everyone. I would like to start my remarks by segueing from the presentation by students. I had an opportunity to meet with students last week, accompanied by Vice Chancellor Orkin, where we listened to student concerns, particularly with regards to financial aid and the student advisor or student activities coordinator. It was held at Berkeley City College, and I want to thank Dr. Budd for letting us in the door. But we had, I thought, a productive discussion. We heard what the students have to say. They want a director. We, around the district, have had a difference of opinions, whether it should be a faculty member or management or classified. That discussion continues this week, but as has already been indicated, we're trying to come to terms in a decision by next week so that while we are preparing ourselves for next fiscal year, we're looking to have some relief to student activities during this spring semester, if at all possible. With regards to financial aid, we, of course, are listening to students. We're trying to make headway and progress. I believe we are. This also gives me an opportunity to introduce to the board and to our public members our newest member of the Peralta District Administration, our interim associate vice chancellor for student services / registrar. Her name is Adela Esquivel Swinson. She's here in the audience, so I'd like to recognize her. Adela, thank you for being with us. You want to stand and be recognized? Thank you. And Adela will be working with the district administration in financial aid and A&R, but we are very committed to bringing improvements to our financial aid processes and to making sure that students get what they deserve, which is the finances necessary to be successful at our colleges. I also want to just quickly mention that, as you all know, the governor has proposed in his budget for the 13-14 fiscal year the possibility of adult education transferring from the K-12 system to the community colleges. And last week, many of you probably heard that the Oakland Unified School District issued March 15th notices to their adult education staffing. I want to let you know that Superintendent Tony Smith and myself have met to discuss this possibility, but it is clear that there's no defined direction at this point. The legislature, the Legislative Analyst's Office, and the Governor's Office are still discussing what this transfer of adult education may look like. And what Oakland Unified did last week was to fulfill a statutory requirement, which is to issue March 15th notices to folks who may or may not be reemployed as of July 1. But there's nothing, no agreement has been reached between the community colleges and the K-12 system. But we hope that by keeping the dialogue open. Certainly, Superintendent Smith and I have a good rapport, and we want to make sure that the adult population in our service area are served with the programs that will help them reach their academic and educational goals. And finally, I want to share with you, I had an opportunity last week to go back to the classroom, but it wasn't at any of our colleges. It was at Berkeley City Unified, with the Berkeley Unified School District, where I attended with Mayor Tom Bates. We visited the Berkeley Tech School. I had an opportunity to speak to students and share with them a little bit of my personal story. And then we also had an opportunity to go to fifth graders at Rosa Parks School to also share with them my story. And you may not know this, but I started out my educational teaching career as a middle school teacher. And when I went into that fifth grade classroom, I was reminded why I got out of that business. That is the end of my report for this evening. Thank you.
Is that are there any other
Yes,
reports?
that's the end of our reports on the
All right,
Chancellor.
thank you very much. We have a Board of Trustees reports, and we'll start with Trustee Withrow and Trustee Cervantes.
I only have one thing. I'd like to thank the Chancellor and Vice Chancellor Orkin for meeting with us and actually working with us on the two subjects that we talked about with the advisor and the financial aid. And we also look forward to meeting with you next month at Laney College. Thanks.
Trustee again.
Thank you. Just want to report that last weekend I had the opportunity to go to a conference, the Advocacy and Policy Conference of the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges, at which my esteemed colleague Sai Gulasa was honored at a president's dinner because he had been a former president of that amazing association of faculty members, and so I wanted to, again, congratulate him. I'm really pleased to report that we had a very successful conference and lobby day. And among the really good things that happened for us was that we had a lot of students up there actually lobbying our legislative delegation. From Foothill de Anza, we brought 45 students to the conference, and we brought about 300 students to the March in March. And we were quite well received by our ledge delegations. And so I'm just really proud of community college students. Their incredible capacity to organize and advocate for themselves and tell their stories in compelling ways, I think makes a real difference. For those of you who have not been to the FAC conference in the past, I encourage you to come in future years. It's an amazing gathering of students and faculty members who are fighting for us. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chancellors, if it's okay, I know this is on the consent agenda, but I'm really excited about this FedEx plane donation that we're getting, and I'd love to hear something about that from the President.
Tell us all about it, Dr. Jackson, in 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes or less. I am excited also. This has been almost a 4-year process. We were in discussion with FedEx, and they do make donations of 727 aircraft. If you think of the size of a football field, the wingspan is almost that wide, and it takes up about 3/4 of a football field. So it is a huge aircraft. It is a boost to our aviation maintenance technology program. We have had students who graduated from the program, have all been placed in jobs such as United Airlines, FedEx, as well as Frontier Airlines, Southwest Airlines. Also, we've had students that have been placed with Rolls-Royce, and in fact, they want us to give them more students. Every student that we've sent there, they've hired. So we're talking very good jobs. And we have right now, because the program has been on hiatus as we work to upgrade the technology, we need to expand the space. And we've been working with the Port of Oakland to do that. So I'd like to thank Trustee Handy, who attended a meeting that we had to lend her support for that. We also had support from Sandra Swanson's office as the Vice Mayor in Oakland, because it is on Oakland property. So I think we are moving forward. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to that.
Thank you. I did want to make a comment about that. One of the first things I did was to look it up on the internet to see it was big enough to fit all of us trustees in it when it's all set to go. And my conclusion is that, yes, indeed, it will suffice.
It is big enough. I think it will hold about 144 personnel.
Is there anything in the regulations that prevent us from going on our own? All of you are invited. It holds 180 people, I think something.
Well, FedEx makes sure that it is inoperable, so it will not be able to fly, but all of the systems will be there, and that's really what we need the upgrading on, is on the systems work, because most of the aircraft that we have in the program are dated beyond most of you sitting on the board. Let me just put it that way.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Trustee Raddick?
Mr. President, if I just may add a couple of things. The other things that I'm excited about is Merritt's up in the Final Four. The men's basketball team made it to the Final Fours and statewide, so wishing them a hearty congratulations, and hopefully they'll win the state championship. Also was able to attend an event for Laney girls basketball team, or women's basketball team. They had a crab feed last week, which was really nice. I didn't have a lot of the crab, but it was a good turnout. And they, too, actually topped in their division. So congratulations to the academic and the athletic excellence that we have in our students here at the Peralta colleges. I'm very happy to see that, and let's continue that tradition. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I was, let's see what I had something important to say. Let's see, it slipped by. Oh, I know what it was. So I was hoping before we have our great graduations in May, that we could get a list of students who are receiving scholarships and what schools they will be attending. I know that there's a lot, and we just kind of acknowledge them at the graduation. But I would hope we could put that on our website, saying this kid is going wherever they're going to show up at. Kids going to Cal or going to Yale or Harvard or wherever it might be. I think it would be it'd just be a great acknowledgement to the students and to our staff and faculty who's worked so hard to get them there. So hopefully that's something I'd like to happen. If it happens this year, fine. If it doesn't happen this year, I'm gonna be disappointed.
Trustee Handy, why don't you just send your report in? Okay. Trustee Clegg?
Thank you. I would like to thank Dr. Ortiz, Chancellor Ortiz, and Dr. Orkin for meeting with the district-wide council, and also thank Dr. Bed for welcoming the district-wide council of Berkeley City College. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Brown?
I would like to congratulate the faculty members that received tenure and congratulate College of Alameda and Dr. Jeanette Jackson on that wonderful airplane, and just say job well done.
Thank you. Dr. Van Putten, please. Academic Senate report.
Thank you, Mr. President. And good evening, trustees, chancellor, district administration center staff, college presidents, colleagues, and members of the public. Later this month, the 4 Peralta colleges will be submitting a report to the Accrediting Commission for Community and Junior Colleges, the ACCJC, on the status of our student learning outcomes implementation. Given that, my comments tonight will focus on the increased role that assessment is expected to have in institutional planning and resource allocation decisions. You will recall that all California community colleges were to have attained the proficiency level of using student learning outcomes in support of continuous quality improvement by fall 2012. All Peralta colleges got a bit of a reprieve from that deadline in that about 45% of the community colleges, including us, were given an additional 6 months before filing the report mentioned previously. Excuse me. That 6-month extension ended this month. Not too long ago, my colleague Deanna Bajrami delivered a presentation to you on the meaning of proficiency and a report on our progress to that point in time. Since then, faculty members have continued to record and document assessment data for more of the thousands of courses and hundreds of programs offered at our colleges. In brief, for a college to be at the level of proficiency with the implementation of student learning outcomes and their assessment, the rubric by which we will be evaluated covers 7 essential areas. 1, outcomes and authentic assessment. 2, widespread institutional dialogue. 3, integrated decision-making. 4, resources allocation. 5, reporting. 6, alignment. And 7, student awareness. Most of these areas are familiar to those of us who've been paying attention to all matters related to learning assessment for the past decade. What is less familiar and even more crucial than for all previous SLO reports to the ACCJC is the emphasis on 3 of the areas just mentioned. Well, 4 of the areas just mentioned. Integrated decision-making, resources allocation, alignment, and student awareness. While preparing the Laney College SLO Implementation Status Report, I have also been alerting college constituencies to this dramatic change in how we make planning and budgeting decisions. It is likely that we have not fully embraced the different ways in which the ACCJC will be evaluating the colleges in the years to come. Stated simply, it is the integration of the results of assessment with everything we do that is the major dramatic change. More than dialogue about student learning, we're now being asked to include the results of assessment in institutional planning and all of the decisions we make about how to allocate resources, and to document that this has occurred with a comprehensive range of written evidence. This means that every shared governance body responsible for making recommendations to our administrators is expected to include the results of assessment of student learning as an essential factor in its deliberations. With these expectations, the ACCJC is encouraging us to continually improve what we do so that we can continually increase and support the success of our students and the development of our communities. This cannot occur unless we also continually assess how we and our students are doing and make decisions that are focused on filling the gap between what is and what can be. That is the purpose and role of assessment. Our task is to restructure how we make decisions to incorporate assessment fully. As my colleague James Blake just noted, when we increase course sections, for example, thorough institutional planning based on the results of assessment would also include making certain that we have sufficient staff to take care of the needs associated with those increases. We will only be able to do that if we make plans now for correcting the current imbalances that we have carefully documented. That kind of planning and corrective action based on the results of assessment will allow us to achieve the level of continuous quality improvement. That concludes my report for tonight. Thank you for receiving it.
Thank you. And now we move to the consent calendar. I'm sorry, to the presentations. It's Laney College Facilities Master Plan, and I believe Vice Chancellor Caro, President Webb, and Rob Bartleman will make the presentation.
Okay. Good evening, Board President, members of the Board of Trustees, College President, Chancellor, Vice Chancellors, members of the public. This evening, we have a team presentation here that is going to be undertaken by myself, Dr. Sadiq Ikaro Bello for the record. And also, we're going to also have the president of Laney College, Dr. Enora Webb, and from the architectural company, Sunia Malhotra will be representing the architectural company STV to make a joint presentation. Essentially, the Department of General Services was charged with the responsibility to go out and solicit the services of architects to be able to undertake the learning facility master plan. Towards that regard, we put out a request for proposal, invited a group of architects who came to make presentation. This was done between the college and the district joint interview process that led to the selection of VBN. VBN was later acquired, and their new name is STV. And the selection of STV was made, and after that, we met with Chancellor Wise Allen to be able to undertake the structure of what we're actually going to be doing. If you recall, back in 2008-2009 school year, there was a facility master plan, integrated facility master plan for all the colleges. However, the board, during that meeting, accepted the facility master planning during that meeting. But there were some issues that needed to be addressed. For instance, in the previous facility master planning recommendation, some of the departments from Lenny College were being recommended for transfer to other colleges. And then there was the issue that Lenny needed to undertake a new facility educational master plan. And this educational master plan drives facilities. So today we're going to be looking at the roadmap for the new revitalized future planning for Lenny facility master planning. I also want to indicate that there were a lot of activities that were happening around Lenny between 2008 and now. And some of those include other external environmental agencies that were impacting what is going on at Lenny and here in the district. For instance, you had the Lake Merritt bus station, 25-year program that is ongoing right now in the terms of planning that will impact Lenny College. We have the Major DD that is doing some construction along the estuary. Then you have the Oakland Museum. And then there was discussion to do acquisition of Kaiser Convention Center at that time. So because of all these other external factors that were impacting the college, there was a need to be able to do a new facility master plan. So without further ado, I want to call on the president of Lenny College, Dr. Enora Ware, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Carl. Trustees, Board President, Chancellor, presidents in the listening audience, and those present. It's my honor to present the Facilities Master Plan for Laney College. As Dr. Carl very kindly and appropriately stated, this plan really is integrated with a lot of efforts that are happening locally in this city that really are making a qualitative difference in the nature of how we experience this part of Oakland. The Facilities Master Plan was organized, facilitated by our Facilities Planning Committee at Laney College. And we had representatives here a couple of weeks ago that could not be here tonight, regrettably. Leading that charge were our co-chairs, Don Bertrelli, faculty member in graphic arts, and our dean, Marco Menendez, dean of liberal arts and student life. They did a yeoman's effort working with the architects, making certain that students, faculty, classified staff, and administrators were engaged over a year period in looking at, coming up with ideas, coming up with specific scenarios that were driven primarily by our educational master plan that was completed in 2010, as you may recall. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Sunia to come forward and present in less than 10 minutes, a very brief presentation of the facilities master plan and receive your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Webb. Good evening, trustees, Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, presidents, and members of the public. Thank you for this honor. It has been our deepest pleasure to work with Laney College. It's a vibrant college with a lot of passion for what they do, and we feel honored to have been part of this process. Oops, I should have figured out how to, pardon me here as I figure out how to. We did a comprehensive master plan. Obviously, in the interest of time, we cannot go through all the components, but the entire master plan document does document the outcome, the actual facilities master plan, as well as the process. As Dr. Webb and Dr. Icaro indicated, this was a process that was rich with stakeholder input and feedback. The Laney Facilities Master Plan really sort of led the process. We were the facilitators for the process. And throughout the 1 year that we've been involved on this, there's been multiple opportunities for various stakeholders to participate, and we have solicited their feedback at numerous times. So the purpose, as Dr. Icaro was mentioning, is really to create a roadmap for facilities development that addresses the 2010 Laney Educational Master Plan. It's also a plan that reflects the vision and goals of the college on how best to address those needs, and a plan that addresses those contextual opportunities by public and private developments that are in the vicinity of the college that also Dr. Icaro mentioned. The visions and goals can highlight just a few of them. Aside from obviously fulfilling the needs of the educational master plan and aligning with the Oakland economy, the college really desired to make the campus welcoming and secure, wanted it to reflect and connect with the community, leverage the community and physical assets that it has. It's right next to a channel. It's right next to the museum, the art museum, and an art district. So leverage those assets. Clean energy, sustainability, and arts and design integrated throughout. And project priorities, with the first project priority being the Library Learning Resource Center, the Science Center, the Best Center, Theater Modernization, One Stop Welcome Center, among others. We looked at sort of the criteria, and one of the key criteria was all programs stay on the campus. However, they may be relocated on the campus to maximize collaboration opportunities with disciplines where there's some synergistic programs that can be developed, as well as in an effort to clarify the wayfinding on the campus. The other thing is that the college has a very strong desire to have the 7th Street road rerouted to the south of what's the existing Laney parking lot in an effort to make the campus more cohesive and, more importantly, to address safety concerns with crossing the 7th Street. But there was a recognition that that's going to take a lot of effort working with the city to get that approved. So this master plan reflects that desire, but does not straitjacket the development of the plan should that not happen. In other words, it accommodates both scenarios where either the road is rerouted or not. And then there has been some discussion on developing a parking is a very big need on the Laney campus, developing a parking garage with some retail in conjunction with a partner to help alleviate the parking problems, and then the retail could also assist in gaining some revenue that the college can fold back into the educational mission. The master plan also incorporates design and landscape and sustainability guidelines. The Laney College is thoroughly committed to a sense of sustainability weaved throughout all aspects of its mission, from teaching, faculty, staff, curriculum, as well as the facilities. There is a strong desire to make sure that the infrastructure is upgraded to support the needs of the college. The infrastructure is outdated. It's a 4-year college that hasn't had its infrastructure updated except in pieces. So a strong desire to have it upgraded to reflect current needs as well as the future needs that are projected. Smart technology, obviously having spaces where the that reflects the current teaching pedagogies, and a variety of details regarding lecture rooms, study spaces, and so forth. The key concept of the master plan is really to transform the existing campus to reach out to the city and the community through access, view, and amenity connections, and also to reflect Laney's focus on learning communities, arts and design, and sustainability. So we've accomplished this through a number of moves, basically. There are multiple gateways onto the campus, which we have endeavored to simplify to really improve the access onto campus. So instead of coming down and back up, we've looked at ways to sort of just have people flow onto the campus, minimizing the needs for ramps and stairs. The west entry has, and I'm sorry that my laser pointer battery is out, but at the top there with the big yellow triangle, you see the campus is being proposed to open up to that corner, which is right across from the Museum of Oakland. And there's a strong desire to increase the greenery and reforest the Laney campus. It feels very much like a concrete jungle, so to bring the green in throughout. And we're proposing to integrate arts and design and sustainability, things that you discover throughout the campus by going into these outdoor spaces, that you would find these as part of your journey and experience on the campus that the community can also enjoy and partake in. We're proposing that a enlarged quad, that the quad be opened up to the estuary. You have an amazing natural resource there, so open it up and connect it to the estuary as well as to the athletic side of the campus. And then really connecting, right now what you have at Laney is a lower floor and an upper floor that are disconnected from one another, and you have to go through external staircases and elevators to go from one floor to the other. So the plan is proposing to create these lanterns, these circulation pieces within the building that would internalize the stairs and elevators and have study spaces and restrooms and connect these buildings so that the top and bottom floors are connected and programs can start relating across floors. And then I think we've talked about most of the others, sorry. Okay, so this is, in essence, how that plan shapes out to be. Maybe I can use the cursor. I'm going to walk you through sort of the plans, the buildings. One of the first buildings to happen would be the Library Learning Resource Center at the current Eagle Village site, right along 7th Street. And then the next thing would be to build a new science center, a new science, technology, engineering center on the footprint of the existing Forum and C building. The old library, once the new library is built, the old library becomes the building where all the programs, as the new work gets done, all the programs can be housed in that old library. So it serves sort of what we call the surge space. And so we proceed from the Science Center. We have the Best Center on the footprint of the old tennis courts. The theater gets modernized and connected to the G building behind it, where the music department's located, to create a cohesive performing arts center. The balance of the G building becomes a design and technology center. The F building becomes a center for innovation. The E building is the center for liberal arts. This is the parking garage, retail on this side. And in the future, well down into the program, you have a wellness center, which would be the combination of the gym, health, a new pool, and the relocated tennis courts, which also becomes a community asset because the community can come and use it. So it supports and fosters the community around the college. We have some 3D visuals that sort of give a feel for this is the view, the new sort of entry coming in from Fallon. We wanted to make a stronger connection to the BART station and as we talked about, simplifying the way onto the campus. And this is a view from the 7th Street. And like I mentioned, the master plan is comprehensive of a number of things. So just to give you a flavor of what else is included, we have some design guidelines that start to go into some detail about what you want to do, how do you want to make the campuses inviting, the detail on the lanterns, harmony with the existing and the new, landscape guidelines that talk about the use of boulders and stones for seating as well as interest onto the campus, bioswales for sustainability, notions of green walls. You have a lot of sort of brick monolithic walls on the campus. A lot of buildings, existing buildings will remain on the campus, how they can be made more soft and friendlier and inviting. As well as help in the sustainability aspects. Opening up the quad to the estuary could have an amphitheater, and there's already a great community garden associated with Delaney Bistro that can be expanded upon, and the community can again come and help cultivate. Sustainability guidelines, again, looking at this very holistically, but also as it pertains to facilities, really kind of trying to make the whole campus as a living lab. We have created a sensory trail, jogging trails. We're highlighting where bioswales and where sort of teaching elements and the outdoor landscape can help educate the community and students and faculty and staff on the various measures, as well as sustainability measures that can be incorporated into both the existing buildings and the new buildings. There's a lot more pages. These are just a couple of pages from each of these chapters. And then the implementation. The whole master plan, it takes about 20 steps. So we've sort of taken, this is one way to do it. And as Laney embarks on this, once it has funding, things will get changed a little bit. But there is at least one method that takes you from the first step to the last. So this sort of shows how the library is built first and then the library moves. We're just showing the car park in this stage. It could really happen whenever. It's ideally would happen quickly too because the parking there is a need for parking already. And then the old library gets modernized so that it can sort of start accepting the surge spaces. The C building users and the forums get relocated to the old library, and then those get demolished for the new science center. And then you start to modernize the B building for the completion of the STEM center. I'm not going to go through all 20 steps. I just wanted to give you a flavor of it. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Sonia. I want to, on behalf of the Department of General Services, to thank the Manager for Planning and Development, Theria Smith, and the Director for Capital Project for working with me in collaboration with Laney College to make this happen. Dr. Enora, please.
Yes. One last thing. I can't emphasize enough the significance of the students. The students were actively involved in vignettes thanks to the faculty leadership in classified, making certain that they were there to inform the scenarios and what this would look like. And the bottom line out of it all is we want to have this be a complement to this district, where people, when they see this college, when they experience it, they recognize it's a destination point on the planet and not just an interesting and idyllic location. It has some key signature initiatives that are very complementary of this district. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, Trustee Withrow.
Question. We have a Measure A bond facilities construction project going on. Two parts of that. I assume that what we're doing in terms of the construction project is consistent with this plan? Number one, and number two, how far will we get with the monies that are left allocated to Laney for facilities construction?
Yes, the new plan that we're talking about now has two major items from Measure A bond that you just referred to. One of it is the Library Learning Center that is going to be built over in the Eagle Village at the college. And also, we are embarking on phase 1 of the BEST Center, which is the Sustainability Centers. Those two items are included in the current facility master planning that is ongoing, which are also replicated here. I recall that there were other items like the athletic field complex that has been completed across the street that were in the original master planning before this was done. So those are the two items. Other items that are defined in this master plan will be undertaken as funding becomes available in the near future.
Mr. President, one other, just a kind of a minor item, if I could, on the visual from 7th Street on the right hand. It looks like that's a helipad there. Is that right?
Are you, the cross, are you referring to the cross? Okay, so those are existing courtyards in the buildings. And the existing courtyards have these planters, and it so happens that that particular courtyard has the planters in the shape of the cross. No, it is not. You had me puzzled there for a minute.
Mr. President. Thank you. I'd like to thank the people that put so much into this report, the students and the faculty and the planning staff and facilities and Dr. Recaro. And I'd like to ask a question regarding the long-range plan for the district and the charge that we have as a district to do a district-wide master plan, and ask if this Laney Facilities Master Plan is integrated and is connected to the Facilities Master Plan that we need to do for Peralta district-wide in the next year.
Okay, as we said earlier on during the presentation, there was an educational master plan back in 2010 that drives facilities that is coming out with this plan. Now, back in 2009 also, we had an integrated educational facility master planning. That cycle is coming to a close by next year, so we're beginning to look for various dates and planning processes to be able to do, like, say, program review, unit review, and updated educational master planning from the colleges that will drive the new integrated facility educational master plan for the future. So another plan will be done for the rest of the 3 colleges going forward from here in a planning and strategic planning way. So that is coming up.
So, and may I ask how the budget for implementation of the district-wide master plan will be tied to the, and the priorities for the district-wide master plan will be tied to the individual college master plans? And is that a process that would need for us to have a comprehensive view before committing the resources so that we make sure that we can complete all of them in the time that we allocate for their performance?
Yes, each college has facility priority needs as defined in the educational master plan. So those priorities are put on the table during the planning phase, and then available resources that will be able to be used to implement them are shared among those colleges, and then the implementation will begin. So there is going to be priority listing from each college that is going to benefit from available resources in the future.
Trustee.
Thank you for the presentation as well. I like the vision that was put forth. You know, I too share some of the concerns that Trustee Brown raised in terms of how this plan sort of, it seems like now when, now that we have completed this plan for Laney, it seems like we should be updating the plans for other colleges as well, or maybe it all fits in to what we've already done in the past. But one critical element that I think that's missing for us is to see what the, and maybe this is included in the backup documentation, what the costs are for all these facilities. One of the things that always bothers me is that you know, we have these great ideas put out there, but the implementation plan falls short of how to actually realize that if the dollars aren't there. And so I understand that this may be a long-term vision, but certainly I don't want to give the public the impression that this is what's going to happen next year, or this is the vision that we're going to put forth in the next 6 months even. This is a very long-term plan, and I think we need to look at it as that, and then try to figure out how the other parts of the district are incorporated into this vision as well. Also curious, and you know, obviously you went through your planning process, but how is it that the priority between the library resource center versus the science lab, what was that process about? How did that come to be?
If you don't mind, Dr. Carl, the Library Learning Resource Center has been at the top of our priority at the college for 15 years plus. And so we just didn't change that priority. Because it affects all students at the college, there was a resounding reaffirmation of the Library Learning Resource Center being the first project. And it, thank goodness, is already on the schedule with Measure A dollars to fund.
And so that I'm clear, this is not, we're not refurbishing the existing library. This is a new sort of high-tech facility that is going to be as a resource. Can you explain it a little bit more? Because I think some of us, or at least I have, some people have the misconception of what a library is today versus what a library of the future looks like. And I think we're building towards the future.
Yes.
Yes, the proposed Learning Resource Center and library is going to be a brand new building, a 4-story building located in the current Eagle Village. As a matter of fact, some few years back, we attempted to modernize the existing library. We find out during our intensive research that a lot of utilities that were located at Laney College run through that building. As a result, we have been very disruptive to the academic learning of that institution for about 2 years. So therefore, this new institution, this new library location was chosen, and then an architect was hired, that was Nolan Tam, to begin schematic designs for the new project. Now, the new learning center, given the way modern libraries are done, now is going to have quite a bit of element of areas where students could be able to work in group in terms of learning resource centers. And at the same time, they're going to be a database that we currently have in the circulation decks in the current library that is going to move over to the new one. But the future of libraries is not like rows upon rows of book stack, as technology and source for research has continued to change. So this new library will reflect current technology when that is done.
And can you speak of, and I imagine that state funding sources, state matching funds probably played part of your equation to prioritize that project, or is this project does not include any state matching funds? Can you explain which projects in the scheme actually have qualified for matching funds from the state?
The Learning Resource Center and Library has state matching fund of about $23 million from the state. However, the college may decide to be able to work on its own, using its own resources, if that is going to move the project further, because the state has been stalling for the past 3 years or so. With every year, they keep asking that we postpone the item to the future, And we have been waiting, literally, for the state capital project to be able to fund this. But that would be a college decision about what they intend to do. But it does have state matching fund of about $23 million.
I wanted to answer some of your questions from before. So this master plan, it's a long-range plan. We actually refer to it between the 20 and 30-year plan. So there's a recognition by the college that this is definitely a long-range plan. And the feeling was, given how built up the location of Laney and the restriction on where you can expand, it was really important to have this, to be so visionary, to sort of look forward the 20, 30 years, because by looking forward the 20, 30 years, the long-term plan informs the short-term projects. We basically didn't want to sort of only look at a short period because they didn't want to shoot themselves in the foot, essentially, pardon the expression. But basically, if you sort of put a building down somewhere because at that moment it looks like the right thing to do, but then later you come back and realized, wow, one day we really want this wellness center, and now we put this building and it's the only large piece of land we had, you wouldn't have that opportunity. So that was the overarching ambition, sort of goal of this facilities master plan, was to really sort of look at the next 20, 30-year period.
I'd like to speak to Trustee Abell, your question regarding the library. Another thing that we understand from Department of General Services and Dr. O'Carroll in particular is that the cost of building a new library is very quickly ratcheting up. So if we wait for 2015 for the state to say, okay, we're going to go for a bond, now there will be $23 million available. We're talking about an increase of at least $7 million and potentially much more than that. And then we still may not be able to build the library if we're looking at our existing resources, the state and existing Measure A. But if we move quicker, we might be able to leverage what we have to build a library. And of course, we have to have the support of the chancellor to do that.
I appreciate that clarification, but you know, just off the top, it seems very short-sighted unless the state reimburses us to front the money for that building, and then we get reimbursed. That sounds like a much more feasible plan than to say, hey, we're going to leave $23 million on the table for the district. And I'm not sure how the program works exactly, but I hope that's an option, that we're not going to leave any state funds matching funds on the table for the district.
Mr. President.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on the Measure A funds, because I heard you say that the remaining funds would be used for the library and then the Best Center.
No, you missed the Student Center.
There are three major projects that are being planned for Laney. One of them is the Student Center.
Okay.
The plan for Student Center has been completed and approved by DSA.
Okay.
So the next phase for that is to be able to find swing space where the services that are currently being offered in that building, where they're going to go before we commence the construction of that. Yeah. Then there's the Best Center and the Laney Resource Center. And I also want to indicate to Trustee Abell that the other colleges like Merit and College of Alameda are currently implementing the integrated facility master planning for those colleges. That is why we have the Allied Student Head Program that is about a $60 million project going on in Merit College. And the program right now, as at this time, is about 75% construction document complete. So that at some point before October this year, we're going to be breaking ground and beginning construction of that project at Mary College. And College of Alameda, we're also advancing with Building C&D. That is going to be their biggest academic classroom as part of their ongoing facility master planning. So that when they do go back again to do an update, it's going to be a different phase of integration.
Just briefly, Mr. President. So, thank you for your presentation. two issues. One, what's going to be the traffic pattern? Have we looked into the traffic pattern for these in developing these new facilities? Because I know at one time we talked about trying to block off sections of these streets so that we could really get more of a feel for a campus environment. Has anything been?
Yes, we have been working with the City of Oakland, Department of Transportation, to study the traffic patterns around Laney College, especially between 5th Street and Fallon.
Yes.
And during that period also, we looked at a model of reducing the street, the 2-lane street, to make it one. And if you do that, it's going to slow the number of cars that runs through the area and be more safer for students. But at the same time, we looked at other alternative plan that in order for Laney to have like a contiguous campus, that we can be able to route the 7th Street around the parking lot to go around the college, come out from the estuary into 5th Street. So that is one of the findings that we put into this facility master planning, so that we will work with the city to see how we can have an integrated campus. Were that not to be feasible, then we will work with existing street to be able to make it safer for student faculty to come to the college.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask the Chancellor, Dr. Ortiz, his thoughts and his guidance on how the individual college facilities master plans integrate with the district-wide master plan and the prioritization of facilities projects and budgetary constraints.
Let's see if I can answer that in 30 seconds or less. But in my view at this point, the Laney College Master Plan that is a result of a previous approval by the district, by the Board of Trustees, which means to me that the other 3 colleges and their plan, what was that, 2-3 years ago now? Was accepted, and this is a modification to the Laney plan for XY reasons. The next Education Facilities Master Plan is due, I believe, for our accreditation visit in 2015. That being the case, I would suggest that this plan from Laney College be integrated into the revisions to the three colleges master plan, which will actually start next year in 2014. I understand that Laney has done their due diligence with this plan, that barring any catastrophic issues, it's probably a plan that can be carried over for the next couple of years and be integrated into the district plan. We have invested considerable dollars in this plan, and I would want to honor that investment and that human effort, and but have that plan carried over when we do the district update. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, Trustee Gonzalez-Young.
Thank you.
I was just going to say thank you.
Great. I like the long-term vision. I like the connection to the estuary and the connection to the community. I think that's a nice long-term vision. I've got a few questions about the time frame and the budget. So you've got your short-term, your mid-term, your long-term plan. What's the vision of, in the long term, you take out the pool, you take out the gym, you move it, you did this new wellness center, et cetera, et cetera. How many years are we talking about here? Is this a 20-year vision?
Okay, sorry. It's really a function of funding, but assuming the best funding scenarios, it could be done in 20. If the funding's a little slower, it could be 30, but that's the range you're looking at. And it's really all dependent on whether you get the funding to do all those various projects that lead up to
All
it.
right. That's my next question. So if you were doing this immediately, if you were to embark on the entire project right now, in today's dollars, what would this plan cost us? Give us a ballpark.
About $1,083 million.
Say that again? I'm sorry, repeat that.
$1,083 million.
$1 billion?
Yes.
$1.3 billion?
No, $1,083 million.
Okay, so $1.1 billion.
Yes.
Something like that.
That is correct.
Under what scenario are we thinking we're going to have $1.1 billion to spend on the college? I mean, I love this idea, and I know we have a really generous public here in the East Bay. I mean, we really do have a generous public here in the East Bay that has consistently funded our educational communities. But I'm wondering under what scenario you're thinking we will have the political will to do that. Is that something that was actually part of the consideration in your planning?
Let me speak for the college. The college was given the charge, and led by me, to envision what would high-quality excellence look like, and then reduce it down to what the Educational Master Plan called for, in terms of its focus on those three mission foci: career technical education, transfer education, foundation skills education, and then the salient principles that guide the college. That includes cleaner energy and sustainability, et cetera. And so what we wanted was the ideal. And we recognize that the ideal may not be able to be implemented fully, even in 20 to 30 years. But it would give us a framework to decide how and best can we serve this community. And so one building that we have envisioned, the Center of Innovation, with high technology, et cetera, may still be a building that's a center of innovation, but with less the level of investment financially, therefore less the level of bells and whistles, but still a center of innovation. So the idea was to pull out of these smart people, faculty especially, classified especially, and even students who are looking to go into some of these areas, their best thinking. What does this community deserve? It deserves this $1 million project. What it may end up getting is half of that or a third of that. Yet the vision is there to go out there and appropriately promote it to those who are vested in this community. A faculty member, very astute gentleman, Lewis Quinlan, said at one of our closing ending discussions around this at the College Council, how can we consider bringing this on board when we have woefully insufficient resources right now to sustain what we have in terms of custodial staff, maintenance staff at the district, and we know we're increasing the level of resources thanks to the general public, thanks to your leadership. And so there was this discourse around how to envision this, given what we've experienced here recently. And then there was also another vision. How do we not envision this for this very important community? And work with those who are interested in investing in us and making this so, or at least some aspect of this making it so. So that was the exercise here. It wasn't a futile exercise, and it wasn't without a lot of consideration about what's reasonable versus what's unreasonable.
So I'm not suggesting that we shortchange our vision. I actually love the vision, and I really respect and appreciate the vision of the faculty and the community there. So I'm not being critical of the vision. Yeah. What I'm suggesting is this: that as we think about the educational plan and we think about the facilities plan, if we're really serious about that, then we can't separate out the politics.
Yes.
We can't separate out the politics of organizing in our communities to make that happen. That can't be left to some other entity. That actually then must be part of how we envision what it means to be a community college, and that a critical component of that is going to be using the political resources, and I don't mean in an illegal partisan way that would be in trouble with the state, blah, 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 but to really envision, as we think about the Laney community, what are the political resources, what are the community resources, and that's got to be our students. So at the end of the day, a core function of the educational vision is going to be, will have to be, if we're serious about this kind of a vision, we'll have to be thinking about how do we train our students to be our best advocates, their best advocates, and that's just got to be part and parcel of how we think about what it means to be an educated citizen and what our role as community college educators is. That's all. So I don't mean to be critical. I just mean that, so I've said enough.
What you got was a bit of my passion, and I didn't receive it as criticism. I think it's a constructive question, and it's a reasonable question. And what I have to say is that the next phase is to actually rationalize this, make sense of this beyond what we have right now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to put things in perspective. Today there was an article, a report released by Green Schools USA, and they cited that there's a need for $542 billion needed to update our schools in the U.S. And between 1995 and 2008, there was about $211 billion spent, when in fact we should have spent $500 billion just to upkeep our school facilities throughout the country. So I know that number sounds a bit scary, and it is. $1 billion is a lot of money. That's probably how much we've spent in our history as a district. But certainly it's good to know that we're looking out into the future. I think our task is going to be, as a board, of how to bring all that together into something that makes sense for the district and for all our colleges. So I appreciate the effort, and thank you for the report.
Thank you. I'd like to make a few quick comments. One of them is I want to thank you for this report. It certainly is a beautiful campus and is probably, without exception, inspirational to anyone who looks at this. So I thank you for that. And $1 billion doesn't faze me. I mean, not the way we're paid here in this district. $1 billion. However, if you just look back, we've generated $500 million in bonds in just over the past 10 years or so. So it's not an impossible thing. But my concerns are more along the lines of Trustee Brown, and that is, how does this all fit together? And do we allow similar amounts of money and unrestrained vision for all of the other campuses where they project out their fullest dreams? I'm not quite clear on the concept of how we go about this integrated planning. In 2009, for example, I remember a presentation by Moss Company came in here, and I remember the color of the cover and all, and it was about Laney College, and it was called Laney College Integrated Master Plan, Educational Master Plan and Facilities, maybe had a couple more words to it. It was the whole schmear as far as we were as a trustee. And so, okay, that's great. We get a general idea where we're going. There was some controversy over maybe moving some resources from one place to another, and those were all workable. But then a year later, educational master plan comes out. After we've got the big master plan, then the educational master plan comes out from Laney. So I stop and think, so okay, how come it wasn't there earlier, or is it, well, all right, I'm not going to argue that point. But then that necessitates a whole new facilities master plan just for Laney, which costs $500,000. So how does all of this fit together? I thought we were getting this huge, big district. It was I thought it was, I don't know, $1.5 million, $2 million that we're going to do this. And then, now I find that we've got this one master plan that's out of kink with the other plan. And then that raises the question, where are the new, fresh, brand new master plans of all the other colleges? Or did they have them all done earlier beforehand, or they haven't done them yet? So I don't have the big picture of how the district-wide planning goes, and how, from the perspective of the board, which is, a broader one, how all of that fits together for the benefit of our students and our individual, all of our 4 colleges, our enterprise, and really serving the needs of this district in a spectacular way. So anyway, those are my comments. Thank you. And I congratulate you on the delivery of this report. It's very, very inspirational, as I said. Thank you.
Chancellor, if I might shed some light on what the trustee has just eloquently elucidated about the overall action plan for the whole colleges, the integrated facility educational master plan that you are referring to is being implemented. It's ongoing. That is why I gave 2 examples of the Science and Allied Health program going on at Mary College, and building C and D that we're going to demolish the building at College of Alameda as part of that plan. Now, the Chancellor just indicated that by the year 2015, the remaining 3 colleges are going to come out with an updated plan for both educational and facility master planning that will integrate with what Lenny has just done. And the reason for Lenny doing this was because they had to do an educational master plan that was not conclusive back in 2009. And if Dr. Enora can say a word or 2 about the educational master plan at that time.
I don't want to belabor it. I just want to thank you, trustees and Chancellor and the rest of the key individuals in this room for listening to this presentation. And if you have any additional questions, I welcome receiving them to be able to provide you with more substantive responses. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? Thank you. I'm reminded I've skipped something else in this. Sorry, that we move to the consent calendar.
Move approval, Mr. President, of the consent calendar.
Move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And all of those in favor?
One second.
Can I point of clarification? Are we on the consent calendar including the Laney College Facilities Master Plan? Or I believe that the Chancellor has recommended integration of this plan with the overall plan that's going to be begun, implemented next year. And I'm unclear as to the ramifications of what the commitment or the impact is if we approve the facilities master plan for Laney now and begin review of a plan, of an overall district-wide plan in a year. If someone could clarify that, and then, or if, barring any further discussion, if we've belabored the point, then should we address these separately? One, the consent calendar, and then treat this as the facilities master plan for Laney as something we come back and visit with consideration or feedback, or maybe a subsequent report as to how this will integrate with the district-wide master plan.
Mr. President, if I may make a suggestion that we remove item number 11 from the consent calendar, take care of the consent calendar, and come back to item number 17, item number 17, the Laney.
All right, we'll remove that, and we then drop the master plan to the action calendar. And so with that, and it's we're a little bit out of line here, but it certainly is within the purview of the board to do this. So with that in mind, all those in favor of the consent calendar?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, now you think aye?
Yeah, I think I followed.
There's a hesitant aye and 6 solid ones.
Number 17.
All right, now, so then we move to the
17.
action calendar. Now we will continue. Is there a first
I move approval for item number 17, Laney College Facilities Master Plan.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all right, now discussion.
Trustee Brown? Did you
Is there any intent to discuss it further? I'll certainly call for the question.
Did you want
Yes, I would like to ask the Chancellor to take a look at this charge that Peralta has to do an integrated facilities master plan and how the individual college master plans will dovetail into that. I want to be clear that we are fulfilling our responsibility to look at the educational master plans and the overall facilities master plans and the available budget, and that we use matrices for prioritization that's comprehensive and addresses Peralta as a whole.
I would say, based again on earlier comments, that for the record, I believe the board should acknowledge the Laney Plan this evening, with the caveat that when the district in 2 years moves on to a district-wide update of the other colleges, that the Laney Plan be included as it stands today. Granted, there may be some compelling reasons to look at some adjustments to this plan. I don't particularly see this. We're looking at a $1 billion project that is a vision. And that vision, in my estimation, would not change in the next year or so, which is when we'll be doing the update to the district-wide. So my view is, with the approval of this plan today, the board can go on record to say that the district-wide update of facilities, with the education and facilities master plan will use today's Laney's plan integrated into that district plan without making any additional investment in the Laney planning. If Dr. Webb is in agreement with that.
So
Thank you, Chancellor.
If I may, Mr. President, offer an amendment based on the discussion that the board actually move to acknowledge the Laney College Facilities Master Plan, and that direct the Chancellor to make sure that it gets incorporated into the remaining facilities planning process as part of the overall picture for the district. I think that's what I'm hearing from the board, is that's intent of the board that we'd like to see happen. If we can, I'd like to make that as a substitute motion.
That's
for
made
item
as a
number
substitute
17.
motion.
Yeah,
All
I'll
those in
take that
favor with
as a friend. I'll second it.
seconded?
Okay with you?
Okay.
So that'll be recorded in the minutes for
Yes.
this evening.
Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. Closing comments?
Yes, Mr. President, we have a few announcements. Just wanted to remind the public that the next meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Peralta Community Colleges will be meeting on March 26th here at the district office. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Erin Go Brock. March 17th, if you're going to be drinking, please have a designated driver out there. And March 17th, happy St. Patrick's Day. You're O'Reilly, right? You're Irish.
That's right.
That's right. Congratulations go to the Laney College Culinary Arts Program for receiving a gold medal and other honors at the American Culinary Federation San Francisco chapter for junior community colleges. And congratulations again to Merritt College men's basketball team, who will proceed to the California State Final Four game this week. Go Thunderbirds. And Mr. President, that concludes the announcements for this evening.
Thank you very much, and we're about to conclude this meeting, and I want everyone to notice that we've saved, or banking 50 minutes of time, and our goal is to accumulate $1 billion.
1.1 billion.
1.1 billion. All right. Meeting's adjourned. Good night, everyone. Thank you.